Welcome to episode 73 of the Beyond Social Media Show podcast. I am David Erickson, your co-host. You can find me at @derickson on Twitter, and my blog is trends.e-strategyblog.com. And I'm with my co-host, of course, BL Achman. You can find BL at What's Next on Twitter. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. You can find her at maximum-plus.com to hire her for all things Google+. And, of course, she writes for Ad Age as well. We have a regular format. Regular watchers will know that we talk about the worst of what happened in online communications last week. We talk about the best things that happened. We talk about some shiny new objects we're enamored with, and then we wrap it up with some daily numbers. And every week, BL, you have the honors, of course. What was the worst thing that happened last week?
Hi, Dave. Well, I actually have more good news than bad news this week, but just a little housekeeping first. We are using Comment Tracker, so we welcome your comments and questions during the show, and we'll do our best to bring them in. One of the, this is the Twitter goof of the week, the brand goof of the week, and this is Uber, whose senior vice president, Emil Michael, suggested that making female critics' personal lives miserable is fair game, suggested that Uber spend $1 million to hire up to 4 top opposition researchers and investigators to go after opposition researchers and journalists who, say bad things about the company, and this would help them to, counter and fight back against the press by looking into your personal lives and your families and give the media a toast of its own medicine. And, of course, on Monday, he apologized for the remarks, blah, 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 blah. And that was the brand mess of the week, or one of them. There were others, but this one was particularly distasteful.
Wasn't he also? I mean, he said this to a room of journalists, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and he named people in particular. And unfortunately, Uber behaves like a bunch of thugs, and I'm so over Uber.
I think part of this, the interesting aspect of this is, I think that they hired one of Obama's campaign operatives, former campaign operatives, as a consultant, and this is sort of the rough and tumble type of tactics that you see in politics, right? Is opposition research is standard operating procedure in political campaigns. And
but so do you talk about it? If that's what you're going to do, do you go out there and threaten on Twitter? Oh, come on.
It is an interesting, application of political
Thuggery. It's Thuggery.
Commercial, but also a misunderstanding, or the advice that someone's getting is the person isn't processing it properly, and understanding exactly what you said. Do you go out and talk about it?
Well, that's an interesting point. You can give advice, but what the people do with it after you give it to them is sometimes questionable. So I really have to talk about Google. Google Apps for Work this week did one of the worst Hangouts on air I've ever seen. A totally lame Hangout that was done for the purpose of, would you believe, promoting Hangouts. And they had camera issues, they had sound issues, they had lighting issues, and they used... There's an app called the Applause app that is on by default in Hangouts for some ungodly reason, and it would be appropriate if you were doing entertainment, but if you're doing a business Hangout, what is the point of having an applause track where if you give it a thumbs down, this cartoon character pops up and I don't know what you hear on the Hangout side, of the presenters, but the viewer hears boo or yay during the Hangout. So if you look at that, and it stays with the video afterward, so if you look at this one, there's an enormous number of red lights which indicate the boos. And the first person who was talking, these were Chromebox marketing people, and Chromebox is Google's app for business that allows you to hook up your Chromebooks so that you can easily use Hangouts. And guess what, folks? It really works. But Vidya, who was the first person speaking, was completely silent for 3 minutes because I guess they hadn't tested the sound or something. So she's talking, we can't hear. They weren't using screen share or presenter mode for her slides, and so every time she wanted to change slides, she had to say, next slide, and then she would read the slides, which of course always makes for a very thrilling presentation. And then the video did not move with the sound, if you'll notice. You know, when Dave talks, the screen goes to him, and when I talk, the screen goes to me. And if the host notices that's not happening, the host can pin the other person so that you viewers can see them. They didn't do that. And then the product manager, Chester, did a demonstration on a screen that we couldn't see. And if they could, if they couldn't do that demo, you know, by sharing a screen, they could have shown us slides or recorded an actual screen and showed us a video. And then he showed a Google profile of somebody that he was calling into a meeting, and they were a person with what is known as a blue head, meaning that they don't use Google Plus and they don't have a profile picture. They work at Google. And then Chester was in the dark, so we couldn't see Chester. And then Video wanted to demonstrate how we could call, this is my favorite, how we could call anyone and get them to join, and when she dialed, she got Google's voicemail. Plus, plus nobody seemed to know where to look, so they were like not looking at the camera, and then the camera got stuck on poor Vidya, and she's like looking up, and she's hanging out, you know, she's watching the thing, she doesn't know she's on the camera. Didn't they do a run-through?
Yeah, you know, my instinct on this is to, or my reflex on this is to say, well, that's too bad. You know, those types of things. You and I would know. We've run into technical difficulties with stuff before, and a lot of moving parts, complex things happen. It can break, and you have some sympathy for that. But
it's new technology. These things happen. Karen, it's an unlisted video. I'm happy to share the link with you. It isn't actually for public viewing. It was an invitation thing, thank goodness. But I will share the link with you all because we all do need to see how absolutely god-awful this was. But I do have a great one to talk to you about later. So
let me finish my thought there, BL. It is Google. It is a product demonstration of Hangouts intended to sell. So, you know, all the things that you said apply. They need to do a run-through of this because it didn't demonstrate the product very well.
Or at all, in the end effect. I mean, you know, look, we're on episode 73, and I'm not going to say that we haven't had issues. As you noted, there have been issues. It's new technology. NASA has issues, and they do these all the time. You know, and they have a team who helps them produce them. But it's Google. They created the damn thing. Anyway, I just wanted to say that that's really very sad. Do you want to give us one of yours, and then I'll give you another?
Yeah. What do I got here? Okay, yeah. So, I spend plenty of time on YouTube's dashboard, trends dashboard, to see what's popular, what videos are popular across the world at any given time, and came across one last week that was popular, and it was titled "Hotel Privacy." So I gave it a look. Turns out it was a video from a laptop camera in a hotel room, where the laptop was just set on a desk in the corner of a hotel room, and it videotaped, it was going while the people were out, and it videotaped the cleaning woman coming in to clean the room. And so, interesting, or not interesting at all, right? It's a cleaning woman cleaning the room, who cares? Turns out you care a lot, because she starts checking everything out in the room. She checks out a package that the visitor had received. She checked out some PS3 games. She checked out the PS3 video game console. She tried to access the laptop computer. She tried to access the tablet. She tried to access the Chromebook. She checked out their luggage. The woman's face, whoever created the video, was kind enough, I don't know why, but kind enough to block out the woman's eyes on the video, so there's just a white block on her eyes, so you can't really identify her. And they didn't name the hotel, which again is just kind beyond belief in the internet age. The video was uploaded November 8th. There's 11.8 million views so far, but let it be everybody in the hotel industry should watch this as a cautionary tale of they're so whatever that brand is so lucky that the person uploading the video was kind enough to not, you know.
I wonder why they didn't, because that video is mortifying. And at the end of it, the person who did it said, you know, leave your stuff in the car. I don't know about that. I mean, we work in hotel rooms, you know, we need our stuff with us. And she didn't just try once. She went back to that computer several times, and she looked under the mattress to see if anything was hidden there. I mean, she didn't miss anything. She absolutely didn't miss anything. She was scary.
Yeah. So hotels
didn't do a great job cleaning the room either, by the way.
Maybe hotels want to think of keeping safes for their visitors in the room so they can lock up all their valuables and keep them away from their cleaning people.
Unreal. But, you know, I was in London, and I accidentally left my iPod in the hotel room, and I forget the name of the hotel, lucky for them, because it was really an expensive one. And I said, I've left it there. Can you please send it back? And the guy sent it back in an envelope without any padding. It came back to me in pieces, you know. So I'm not a big fan of hotels anyway. So, I just want to answer a question for Richard Wright. If you click on the picture, you know, the little arrow in the video, it'll play the video for you. You're asking whether this is for viewing or answering questions. It's for both. So if you have a question, we'll answer you. I have this is a sad story actually, and Scott Scowcroft brought this to my attention. Last week, the world watched the European Space Agency do the most remarkable thing that anybody's ever done. They landed on a comet, and during the landing, or during the event, actually, a television crew interviewed one of the team's head scientist, Dr. Matthew Taylor. He's a British physicist, and he looked like a classic nonconformist scientist. His arms were tattooed, and he was wearing what looked like a colorful Hawaiian shirt, but then some people looked closely at the shirt, and it wasn't just a gaudy Hawaiian shirt. It was covered with drawings of lingerie-clad women in provocative poses, and so boom, now on social media we have Shirtstorm and conversations about sexism in science and how there aren't enough women in science, and there, you know, certain corners of the internet ended up making rape threats against women who criticized him, and 2 days later, the poor guy issues an apology, and he's in tears, and you know, it came into a wider conversation, and that conversation sparked crude responses, and Rose Eveleth, a science and technology writer at The Atlantic, received and retweeted derogatory, violent, dismissive comments, and then he apologized, and she said, you know, let's both move on with our lives. And the person who made the shirt for him, Ellie Prizeman, she said that she was just sad to see the effects of it because his stupid behavior of wearing the shirt, like what was he thinking, overshadowed the astounding achievement. So, you know, it's a best and a worst, and it's just sad. It's just absolutely sad.
Yeah, it's clearly he wasn't thinking, and it seems to me like it was a shirt he wore. He probably is supporting his friend who designed it and everything, and he just happened to be wearing it that day and didn't think of it. Sort of goes to show that almost everybody needs media training these days.
That's the truth, yeah. You know, but especially people who are in worldview. I mean, not just in, you know, a little small area. The world is watching when you land on a comet for the first time in history.
Yeah.
It's just, but, you know, you just have to wonder. And the guy was clearly, like, he couldn't believe that he'd caused all of this, and he was sad, and he was, let's move on.
Yeah, we need to be much more forgiving as a world these days for those very reasons. People make mistakes, and they shouldn't be crucified for them. They should be allowed to make amends and move on, and not have them follow them the rest of their lives.
So you have another for us about MSNBC?
I do indeed. So this is an example of Xerox. It's an example of how not to do sponsored content, I think. So Xerox is running, or at least until yesterday, at least last time I checked, was running a piece of sponsored content on the front page of MSNBC.com. So it is among the stories that you get like 10 headlines on the front page, and it is one of those headlines. It's denoted as sponsored content. There's a Xerox logo next to the headline, but the headline, it reads, "A World Made Simpler by Xerox." And it's a headline you can entirely ignore. I mean, it's all about them, one. There's nothing in it for the reader. There's no compelling reason to click because of that. There's bland when you do click, you go to the landing page, there's bland copy on the landing page that sort of says why Xerox is so great. And there's actually payoff, but you wouldn't know it from the headline. You wouldn't know it from the copy on the landing page. But the payoff is a very well done video about Xerox's contributions to innovation throughout the years. So it's, you know, starts with the invention of xerography and goes on through a bunch of surprising things that you didn't know that Xerox did. And presumably, ironically, the intention of the sponsored content is to gain views on the video. I assume that's what they want to do, but they're burying the lead, right? They're burying the actual content, and so this is sort of an example of how not to do it, I think.
That's a shame. I mean, well, there are a lot of examples of how not to do it, aren't there? You know, and particularly when it comes to contextual advertising, unfortunately. I mean, you just wonder, you know, we're at minimally 5 years into brands as content providers. So at this point in time, best practices are pretty obvious, I think, and yet you see things like this on a daily basis. So I have only good news from here on, so I know you have another one that is really kind of funny.
Funny.
Microsoft.
Oh, not funny. No, bad Microsoft. Microsoft finally got around to patching a security hole that had been with them since Win95, since Windows 95. That's 19 years. That bug had been around. It's just been discovered. Some IBM researchers discovered the flaw. It affects Windows and Office products in May of this year, so they waited around until they had a solution for it before they announced it, which of course is good practice. But with this bug, attackers could exploit the bug to remotely control a PC, and so users are obviously being urged to download their updates. IBM researcher Robert Freeman wrote in a blog post about the bug. The bug can be used by an attacker for drive-by attacks to reliably run code remotely and take over the user's machine. It's been graded 9.3 out of a possible 10 on the common vulnerability scoring system, which is a measure of severity of computer security. So thanks for that, Microsoft, at least.
We have a comment from Ray Hills that's really germane. He says, what does it say when we all need to hire a PR firm before we appear on a public platform? Yes, everybody, you know, yeah, people do need media training. If they're going to be in the view that guys like that are going to be in. But, yeah, it's kind of sad in a way. You know? On to good news. Dave, why do you think why is Firefox making Yahoo their default search engine in the good news?
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is sort of, it depends on your point of view, really. I think I put in good news because I already had a bunch of bad news, so I could have put it in either. I guess in the good news category, it's more competition is better, and Google rules the search universe. So if this presents some more competition to Google, then that's probably a good thing. But Firefox has decided to make Yahoo their default search engine. So back in the day, you'll remember Netscape was the first browser, and they did have Yahoo as the default landing page when you opened up your browser. Netscape is the pre-runner to Firefox.
Netscape was great, by the way, you know, and back in the day, Yahoo was a lot better than it is now.
Yeah, but this could be potentially good or huge news because a lot of people use Firefox, and if they don't change their default search engine, then we're going to have to start paying attention to Yahoo as a place to optimize our content for. I just went through several of my higher traffic sites. One of them has 84% of the users are using Firefox. Another one has 45%, and then all the way down to 9%. So it varies by site, but everybody should take a look at how many of their users are using Firefox as a browser.
Well, I do wonder, do you know any numbers on that?
I'm sure there are numbers out there. I don't know them off the top of my head, but
Be curious to see.
You should so your analytics for your sites in particular to see.
So I have the contrast to the horrible Hangout by Google for Work was that this week His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales did a Google Plus Hangout from his home, which is beyond fabulous, and they had a technical difficulty. They didn't get started until 6 minutes and 30 seconds in, but boy, when they got started, was it terrific. What they were doing was celebrating the first anniversary of the Prince's charity. Well, it's not a charity, it's a national program called Step Up to Serve, which has the hashtag I will, and its aim is to make social action, volunteering, fundraising, helping others the norm for all the 10 to 20-year-olds in Britain by the year 2020. And His Royal Highness did one hell of a wonderful job. And each of the Hangout guests, each of whom was doing some sort of significant achievement to help other young people, despite hurdles, every one of them had faced hurdles themselves and taken the difficulties in their own lives and translated them into helping other people not to have to go through the same thing. And they were all beautiful and they were all articulate. The youngest one was 14. There were three, I forget if it was 3 or 4, who were there with him, and the host was Alex Jones, and she is from BBC's One Show, and she's beautiful and charming and articulate. And what struck me so was that the Prince was so involved with each of the young people and you know, listened so intently and commented so astutely and praised them so much and talked about how much he loved this technology, how much he was going to use it, how much he would incorporate it into what they're doing. And it was, you know, it was well done. They used all the tools and they had lower thirds. And what I notice when Google produces a Hangout is that we never know who's talking because they don't use lower thirds. And here they did. The graphics were beautiful. The lighting was fine. There were some issues with sound, you know, but it was a Hangout. It wasn't a TV show. And it was great. Bravo. Well done, Chap.
Had an example of a well-done one and a not-so-well-done one. So.
But the not-so-well-done one from Google, oh, please.
So, holidays coming up, right? We've got retail, we've got marketing for retail during the holidays, which is where they make most of their money. So I've got a couple of tips that I was included in as a quote for a vertical response blog post on 5 tips for holiday service on social media. They cite some stats from CrowdTap, which are interesting. 64.8% of shoppers scroll through their social media feeds to find ideas for the perfect present. So during the holiday season, people are paying a lot more attention to social media for deals, for ideas for gifts and everything. So they're paying much closer attention to what brands do on social media. And for that reason, I think you need to up your customer service immensely during the holiday season to address any issues that come up immediately, because if people don't see an immediate, people, one, expect immediate response from social media, but then those people who are watching the feeds can often see those interactions on a customer service basis and see whether or not you respond, and that reflects well or poorly depending on how you respond. So that's one particular thing you want to pay close attention to during the holidays.
It's tough for brands, you know, there's no two ways about it. I mean, they need to be watching 24/7. Luckily, there are monitoring platforms that will alert you by, you know, text or email or phone as you choose when there is an issue with your brand. And, you know, any brand that's not watching is penny wise and pound foolish, that's for sure. So I have kudos for New York City, and I'm not a big fan of our new mayor, to say the least, but we are rolling out in New York City free 5-borough Wi-Fi by 2015, and what they're doing is they're replacing they're adding Wi-Fi where there were 10,000 payphones. They're turning them into digital hubs, and you'll have 24/7 free internet access with up to huge gigabit streams, and there'll be lighting and insight-driven and intelligently programmed advertising and public service announcements. We'll see about that. And there'll be Android tablets with touch screens and directional speakers and microphones. Maybe you'll be able to do Hangouts from the street. I don't know. Tactile keypads and braille lettering, dedicated 911 button, a USB charger, so if you have an hour you can charge your phone, and you know, they look nice, and they're going to decrease the amount of space that the old phone booths took up. So yay, New York City, that's great news.
That's great. That's very, very smart. That's a brilliant idea.
Isn't it, though? And and it's not going to cost us a dime because it's ad-supported. So, yay! Another comment from Ray saying that it was a shame that Google didn't notice that they had the Showcase app on. Or maybe you're talking about the prints, I'm not sure. Yes, he's talking about the prints. Yes, they did have the Showcase app on, but they didn't use it. That's true, but I forgave them immediately.
Because it's royalty. Because
it was the prince, you know? So, there also was a great radio campaign that I just want to give a shout out to, and it's Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, and they were urging Kroeger supermarkets, right in time for their annual meeting of investors, to stop letting customers carry guns in the stores. It just seems like such a no-brainer to me. But what they did was they recorded phone calls to Kroger's customer service, and it was paid for by the Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund, and they're running in Cincinnati. They ran in Cincinnati, and in the first one, a woman calls up, and she asks the customer service person, "Can I bring my poodle who has separation anxiety into the store? Because, you know, if I leave my poodle home, and I just got it, I just adopted it, if I leave it home, you know, it's going to destroy my house. So is it okay if I bring it into the store?" And the Kroger employee says, "No, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to have poodles in the store." And she said, "But I could bring a loaded assault weapon, is that correct?" And that wouldn't be considered any type of safety issue. So that was one of them. And then there was another where a caller asks if her kid can bring their scooter in because the kid's very attached to it, and so the Kroger employee says, "Well, I'm sorry, you know, we can't allow that. There are liability issues." And so the caller says, you know, "Well, but it is okay to bring a loaded gun. I could bring a shotgun with bullets in it if I wanted to, right?" And the Kroger employee says, "Yeah, that's true, but that's a state law. I can't control that." So we'll put the link to where you can listen to them in the show notes. And it was created by Gray Toronto, and I say kudos to them.
That's very smart.
It really was. It really was, you know?
I like the absurdity of the Are we on the shiny new stuff?
We are. Coach Moore says, "Bravo, New York City." Yeah, I'm really proud of my city. So Biz Stone, the co-founder of Twitter, has a new app. It's called Super. And it's just for fun. He said, "I'm not going to say it's the most innovative thing or that's going to save the world. It's just for fun." And what it is you have a photo from your collection, and you can add type to it, and it starts out with sentences, you know, "we should," or "how about we," and it just sort of starts the conversation, and then you can add to it, and you can share it with your friends. And he said, you know, we laughed a lot while we prototyped it, and he said that to us was a sure sign that we were onto something, because I remember doing that when we were developing Twitter 8 years ago. So it's worth a look, and it's fun. And also in mobile apps, there's a new one in development that I want everybody I know to have. It's called Shh, and it is set up to turn off all your mobile notifications when you're with your friends and family, and you can set it up by GPS to know when you're approaching home, to shut off your mail and your messages, and it eliminates the distraction of texts and emails and push notifications. And you can customize it for, to give you like a 20 minutes of undivided attention to your kids when you come home, or your wife or your significant other. And it sends polite replies to people who are trying to reach you, saying, I'm spending time with people I care about right now, and you get them all when you're done, and you go from there. And I love that.
So I'm generally against such things like that because I don't want to be disconnected ever. But sometimes I turn off my when I go into meetings, I will turn off my phone so that it doesn't ring, and turn down the volume and everything. But I still get notifications. So this presumably would eliminate that too, so I could use it for meetings.
Well, you don't have to turn it on. It's your choice. I mean, it's all customizable. You either put it on or you don't put it on. But, I'm of the mind that there are simply times when you do not need to be connected. And I know that I'm in the minority, and, people argue with me about this. But I am not so important that anybody needs to reach me 24/7, and I never will be. And, there are times when who I'm with is a lot more important than who wants to reach me, and that's all there is to it, I'll get back to you eventually.
I don't presume I'm important enough to have to be contacted. I just want to know what's going on.
See, and I'm fine not knowing.
So I've got one thing.
Sometimes I just need to think. Sometimes I just need to tune out and think. Or not think, as the case may be. Or meditate, or walk my dog. I'm not one of those people who's talking on the phone when I'm walking my dog. When I'm walking my dog, I'm walking my dog.
All right, so one shiny new stuff for me, Icegram plugin. It is what it does is pop-up windows. So those annoying things that pop up to tell you to do stuff when you go to a web page. Sign up for my email newsletter. Watch our podcast. Sign up for my webinar. Interrupts what you're doing. You know what? I'm philosophically against it, but practically they work. They work. So this, if you want to do that, this is about a free plugin you can use, icegram.com. It creates pop-ups. It creates those action bars that sit on the top of your web page, and notification type things that look like when you get an email and it notifies you that you got an email. That same sort of function will you can do that on your website.
You mean it's a plugin for websites?
Yeah, so WordPress.
WordPress plugin. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So Karen Chin has a comment that says, bring my poodle or my assault weapon to Kroger's. Interesting shopping dilemma. Yes, absolutely. So are we on to the daily numbers?
Daily numbers. Before that, I want to use the project section to give a shout out to a project I just finished. It's just a blog post, but we are relocating my business, Kowalski & Courage. Our PR firm is relocating to a different office. We're actually moving just down the street, a block away, to a different office tower, and for announcing that, I wrote a blog post about relocating your business and a communications checklist. So all the things you need to think about when you are moving your business. If you're moving, relocating from one place to another, this is a list of 23 to-dos and ideas about moving your business. You can find it at creativepr.com, but it's sort of my brain dump of all the things you need to take care of when you move your business.
It's also an example of content that's useful to your readers, and you took a situation that was difficult, realizing it applies to other people, and made something out of it that would be helpful. That's the key to shareable content. So how many people work at your company?
We have about 20 on the PR side and about 150 or so on the advertising side.
Oh, I didn't realize your agency did both. Interesting.
Yeah, we have sister companies, basically. So.
Aha. So that brings us to the daily numbers and to the top of the show.
Yes. Amazon search click-through rates by position. Okay, so I've talked before about click-through rates in search results for normal, search for Google and stuff, and that stuff has been covered a lot by different people, but I've never seen any data on Amazon click-through rates by search position. So obviously people search for products on Amazon and they go through a list of links just like through the search results, and the higher, not surprisingly, the higher you are listed, the more likely you're going to get click-through. Here's some actual numbers. First position for Amazon search results, 35.1%. Second position, 16.8%. Third position, 11.9%. So, you need to optimize your product listings within Amazon if you're selling on Amazon. Just as you need to optimize your content for search results in Google and other search engines.
Interesting point, really. So I think that brings us to the end of episode 73 of the Beyond Social Media show. And later today, we will have a list of all of the URLs we discussed, and we will timestamp the video, which will be available on our blog, which is the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. Not the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com blog. We will post on the Google Plus page when it's ready, and on Twitter. And you can find David at D. Erickson on Twitter. You changed your URL of your blog. Can you tell us what that is now?
Well, I have two blogs, so I'm promoting this one now, trends.e-strategyblog.com. And that's all statistics, marketing trends, everything you need for your research and trying to find your audience and all that stuff.
Okay, so take a look at that one. And Dave is also eStrategyTV.com, and of course he's on Google Plus and LinkedIn, and I'm blogging at whatsnextblog.com. On Twitter, I am at What's Next. On Google Plus, I'm B.L. Lockman. I write for Ad Age. I am CEO of Maximum-Plus.com for all things Google Plus. If you want to produce a live event, let me know. And if you would like to learn how to use the tools yourself, let me know. I can help. And we'll be back next Saturday, and we look forward to seeing you all then. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.